March 8, 2014. At Kuala Lumpur International Airport, 239 people checked in for a standard red-eye flight to Beijing. Conditions were clear as the 300-ton Boeing 777-200ER took off, climbing steadily into the night sky until it reached its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. 40 minutes into the flight, Malaysian Air Traffic Control instructed the pilots to hand over communications to controllers in Vietnam. At 1:19 a.m., the pilot replied with a routine, casual sign-off. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Just 2 minutes later, at 1:21 a.m., the aircraft's transponder was manually disabled. The plane stopped transmitting its location, altitude, and identifying data. The modern airliner dropped entirely off civilian radar screens. Ground crews lost all contact, initiating a massive search and rescue operation over the South China Sea. While air traffic controllers saw an empty sky, Malaysian military air defense systems were recording something else. Primary radar, which relies on physical reflection rather than transponder data, was actively tracking an unidentified contact. This radar map shows a sharp left deviation at waypoint Igari. Following the Malacca Strait, the aircraft flew exactly along the Thai-Malaysian border to evade radar interception. The trace ends past waypoint Mekher at 2:22 a.m., escaping the military radar network entirely. The radar data proved the plane was actively piloted to avoid detection. The operation immediately shifted from a standard accident recovery into a criminal investigation of a rogue aircraft. For the next 6 hours, the plane operated in near total silence. However, a British telecommunications company, Inmarsat, was logging faint automated signals. Even with primary communications disabled, a satellite data unit on the plane automatically replied to hourly routine status requests, known as handshakes or pings. These signals confirmed the aircraft's engines were still running. This diagram illustrates the Inmarsat satellite network's elevation angles over the Indian Ocean. By measuring the slight delay in each hourly handshake's travel time to the satellite, engineers calculated the exact distance of the aircraft at each interval. Plotting those distances on this bathymetric map generated what investigators call the seventh arc. This long, curved corridor marks the final range of possible locations when the plane transmitted its last ping before running out of fuel. These calculations shifted the search thousands of miles away from the initial zone. Extracting a flight path entirely from metadata required investigators to invent a completely new method of digital aviation forensics. Based on the satellite data, the Australian Transport Safety Bureau launched a massive underwater survey. Vessels mapped over 120,000 square kilometers of deep ocean floor. For 16 months, the physical search yielded nothing. Then, more than 4,000 kilometers west of the primary search zone, a 2-meter piece of wing wreckage washed onto a beach on Reunion Island. Looking at this map of the western Indian Ocean, we can trace where subsequent pieces of debris were found. Wing flaps, fairings, and interior cabin panels began appearing on the coastlines of Madagascar, Mozambique, Tanzania, and South Africa. Oceanographers inputted the locations and dates of these discoveries into drift analysis models. Running the simulation in reverse, they tracked how the powerful currents of the Indian Ocean would carry buoyant material over a span of 2 years. The models all converged back to the exact same swath of water. The physical debris confirmed what the satellite data had already established. MH370 ended its flight deep in the southern Indian Ocean. While the location was narrowed down, the exact nature of the final descent remained fiercely debated. Investigators had to determine if the plane fell out of the sky uncontrollably or if it was glided down by a human operator. The official model driving the underwater search assumed a high-speed, unpiloted descent. In this scenario, when the second engine ran dry, the autopilot disengaged, and the aircraft banked into a steep, destructive spiral into the sea. However, an analysis of the recovered wing flaps suggested they were in an extended position, an action that requires manual intervention. This points to a controlled ditching, where a pilot actively glided the aircraft to the surface to keep the fuselage largely intact and minimize floating debris. A glided descent dramatically alters the search parameters. A skilled pilot could have flown the aircraft up to 100 miles past the point of fuel exhaustion, putting the wreckage far outside the official search corridor. For the families of the 239 passengers and crew, these competing theories offer no closure. They have spent over a decade navigating initial misdirection, false leads, and an agonizing lack of physical evidence. Even with the flight path mapped and the ocean currents analyzed, the motive remains blank. Without the flight data and cockpit voice recorders, the actions and intent of whoever was in control during those final 6 hours are entirely unknown. The loss of MH370 mandated new international standards for real-time tracking of commercial aircraft over open water. Yet the exact coordinates of this specific Boeing 777 remain hidden. In an era defined by global surveillance and instant communication, the disappearance proved that the ocean is still vast enough to completely consume a 300-ton machine, leaving behind only metadata, scattered debris, and an enduring silence.